Hello, everyone. It's another Wednesday with your fertility specialist. On behalf of Alps Hospitals, we love to say a very big thank you to our dear viewers. Thank you for liking our post. Thank you for always staying glued to your screen. It's good to have you, dear viewers, with us today. As we get started right now, share this link with someone, call up someone. If you need to send data, like I would always say, please do that right now as we get started. Feel free to drop your thoughts, your comments, your questions in the comment section. I'll definitely attend to them. Yes, I'm excited to be your host, Ruth Ogogo, and I know you're going to have a good time with us. So we have a guest with us today in person of Dr. Kenneth Iguda. It's good to have you, Dr. Ken. So for the sake of someone watching for the first time, to interest you to know that Dr. Ken is a consultant gynecologist. He's a minimal access surgeon, a fertility specialist, a very, very superb IVF specialist. Yes, he's also the first to have pioneered laser gynecological surgeries in Africa. Wow, good to have you, Dr. Ken.
Nice to hear that.
Oh, yeah. So, viewers, once again, call up someone and share this link with someone so we're able to have a lot of people get what you're about to get today. We're talking about gametes and embryo banking. Okay, that's a new word for me. Gametes and embryo banking. I'm sure people are just wondering when you say banking, okay, saving for the future, that we've gone beyond assets, we've gone beyond monies and all of that. So maybe people might just want to know a little about what Gamin's banking is or what embryo banking is, maybe so that they can relate to what we are saying.
Oh yeah. It's not a new practice.
Okay.
I think this practice is as old as 30, 35 years, if not more.
Mm.
It's an old thing that's been going on. Just that we wish that the awareness is heightened, so people could take advantage of the knowledge they have. Gametes means eggs, the
Okay.
female eggs, the ovum, the ova, or
Okay.
whatever you call it, the female eggs.
Okay.
While the sperm is also the gamete, but the male gamete, the
Gametes.
sperms.
Okay.
So embryos, it's a fertilized egg,
Okay.
a product of fertilization,
Oh, okay.
of the eggs and sperms. All right. So these are all products and tissues or cells that can be used for reproduction. I mean, making babies by
Yes.
any means. So it's good to know that they all can be banked. The eggs can be banked.
Wow.
The sperms can be banked. Then even the embryos, the potential babies, could be banked.
Oh, wow.
And can be used when the individual who banked them wants to make demands of them, and then you could use it to get pregnant.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, yes, I know, viewers, I know you're curious to know what he's referring to as banking them. But as we get through this in the course of this session, I'm sure you get to understand what the banking really
Take it to the
is.
bank. Yes, take it to the bank.
Maybe we'll start asking, please. Maybe you should tell us some of the banks available.
HBSC Bank,
Oh.
Barclay Banks. They can be banked, but we're talking of preserving them. That's just the word, preserving them. There's the word used in our field,
Yes.
reproductive medicine, is cryobanking. Cryopreservation.
Okay.
That is the use of freezing technology or cold technology to cold temperature technology to preserve this gamete
Okay.
for a very long time. And the cold stuff used here is liquid nitrogen. So it's not like you're using a refrigerator or something. No, it's a liquid nitrogen that you use. And the temperature, you don't want to imagine what the temperature is low temperature that is used for this banking. So it doesn't require electricity, because somebody will be wondering now, you're watching from, depending on where you're watching from, the power doesn't fail.
Like Nigeria.
There's no power failure with cryo banking. You just need to get constant supply of liquid nitrogen. And then the tissue or the products are going to be safe for a very long time.
Okay, so who would you, because I know that as people are hearing banking of these garments, everybody would want to bank. Everybody wants to save for the future. Most people, I don't know if it's everybody, most people want to save for the future. So are there people that you would recommend, or who are people that you feel should actually consider freezing their eggs, freezing their sperm, consider freezing embryo? Who are those people that you think you would recommend that, or who should we say it's for, straight up?
Okay, there are a lot of reasons actually why freezing can be done, or cryopreservation of these garments could be done. Let's look at for the man. When a man is not going to be with his partner for a very long time, maybe he's going for a special assignment or working elsewhere, and his partner doesn't have privilege to be there with him, and then she's going to spend a long time without seeing him, and then he could freeze his sperms in the region where his wife stays.
Wow.
You understand? So that even without him being around, his wife can make pregnancy with the frozen gametes. Pregnancy either by spontaneous means, using intrauterine insemination, or IVF, which is a common reason why banking is done, cryopreservation. So people in that category could be like the military guys going on special assignments, and then you never know whether they are going to come back, and when they would come back. You have footballers, newlyweds, and they're going to be away from their partners for a long time, and their partners may not have the luxury of waiting for a long time without compromising our reproductive health. So you could have freezing done to achieve pregnancy. So but very important reason for those who are going for some kind of treatment. Men going for some kind of treatment like cancer treatment, whether you're going to do radiotherapy or chemotherapy, or even radical surgical excision of some parts of the body that has to do with sperms, the testicles, for instance. So you may want to consider sperm cryopreservation, because after this treatment, you may not have sperms again, or if you have them, they may be in a bad state. And then that can affect your prospect of making babies with your own sperms. So in this situation, you could freeze the sperms. Then when you look at IVF, for instance, sometimes we have men who are normal all by themselves, and then it gets to the point where you demand for them to bring sperms for IVF. So they have what we call performance anxieties, and it results in crisis. So they could freeze their sperm so that they are not caught up with performance anxiety, and then no sperms to treat their wife's eggs. So, but then men who are not married and are getting older, are advised currently to freeze their sperms. Because as men age, the count, the quality, and the biological function of sperms deteriorates. And so the older you are as a man, the poorer your sperms are. Yes, the count may be okay, but the functions may not be. And the risk of having abnormal babies is higher as men also advance in age. Before now, this is only talked about with respect to the woman, but the same goes for the man. It may not be as drastic as it is for the woman, but it surely happens to the man. So when men have low sperm count for some reasons, and they don't have kids, it's also advisable to bank the sperm, because you may just decide to make use of the sperm later, and you find that there is nothing left, depending on the conditions that is affecting the sperms. So quite a number of reasons for the man. It could freeze the sperm.
Now you mentioned, I remember sometime 2 weeks ago or so. I think I saw a mother that actually brought her son to freeze his sperm.
Oh, really?
I think he had some issues when he was much younger. Now he's in
Okay.
his 20s. So I think they are scared of what the future would be like if already now. I think from the test they did, they could see some issues already. So I think they're trying to prevent further
Oh, yeah.
issues, and then they just want to have something to bank on for the
It's
future,
very important because you
Mm.
just watch this kind of young adults, grow, and then the sperm deteriorates because the count you're finding now may not be there later. So I think it's a very bold step and then
Really.
one that should be encouraged.
Wow.
By all means, it's good to freeze the sperms and make use of them later.
Later.
Yeah.
So you see that it's not just about the woman. It's not just about as a man, you don't feel because you feel like you're ejaculating something, everything is fine all the time. Nobody guarantees that everything is fine. So please save for now. You never know.
Because
Maybe help.
you're ejaculating something. How would you use that kind of word?
Well, sometimes because I know that there are times that maybe in your field, I'm sure there are times that you would have checked the sperm and you are telling the man there's no sperm, and he's trying to understand how do you mean there's no sperm.
Yeah, I mean,
They find that hard to believe.
seriously,
So
yeah, they do find out how to believe, and the men always think that the seminal fluid means it's just the sperms. The sperms are actually
yes.
microscopic structure you don't see.
Mm,
The fluid you see are just the escorts. The medium through which the sperms are ejaculated, and the
yes.
sperm lives and feed in the medium while they clean themselves off to go do the work elsewhere. So sperms are actually not seen with the naked eyes. You only see with the aid of a microscope. So what comes out that people see that pours around everywhere is actually not the sperm. They're not the
You
sperm
know,
cells, but they contain the sperm cells that could only be
yeah.
seen with the aid of microscope.
Microscope.
Yeah, very tiny cells, with very powerful functions.
I have to relate with my viewers. I have to let them know so they get it. Yes, you are being scientific, but it's good that we let them know how it is, so that they don't play around this. Because it's, yes, as much as it seems like it's a bit funny, but it's not a funny thing sometimes when they eventually see some of these issues later on in life, and they're like, but all this while I everything was fine. Or you even have some that will say, but I had kids in my previous marriage, and then now this one, now you are saying the sperm is bad, and then you're even recommending sperm donation, and they're like,
This is a very beautiful diversion because I personally see a lot of men with abnormal sperms and occasionally no sperms. And then the history you get is that someone here is pregnant for me, someone here has my babies, and all of that. And then some stories don't tie up. And I say, well, we're not doubting that someone has baby for you, but the only way we know who has the baby is if a paternity test is
test
done.
is
The
done.
truth is this: he could have sperms those good days when he was having those babies, but he's been caught up in a condition that has taken out the sperms, and now he doesn't have sperm. Sperms have life. They are living. They're living things. They are living cells. They die, and they can be caught up in an infection or in a condition that just wipes the whole cells that produce the sperms, and so you don't have sperms anymore. But a good number of them could be criminal, and some ladies just plain smart on the ignorance of some unsmart men.
Yeah, the world we find ourselves today.
Oh yeah.
They usually would
The,
say
the
it's only a
story.
woman that knows the real father of
The story is
the
actually
baby.
quite recurring. Guys will just tell you that no, but my girlfriend is pregnant just 3 months. And I say, with this sperm.
Oh, wow.
Well, in as much as we don't say impossibilities, we don't
Yeah.
see impossibilities. Bad sperms could have some few good sperms in the mix of them that could achieve some results, but there are some sperms that is unthinkable to imagine that they can make pregnancies. And you have guys who have them and they feel they have kids all around the places.
Exactly.
So, well, when the sperms are low and then you've not made babies yet, it's good to freeze them so you could make demand on them a little later.
Well, yes. So hope the men are taking notes, please. If you have not frozen your sperm right now,
We are.
please do that. So let's come
Yeah.
to the ladies now. So you've made us to understand those people that or reasons why men should freeze their sperm, reasons why ladies should freeze themselves, because most of the time it seems they are the receiving end.
Mhm.
So what are some of the reasons, or who would you recommend to freeze their eggs? Yes.
I think ladies, well, maybe because I'm a guy, I would say ladies will need to do a lot of the freezing. Because one, it's automatically, I mean, genetic program for them that their eggs will finish at some point in time. And a good number of them, like we see these days from our clinical perspective, that even younger ladies are coming down without eggs. They have a condition we call that premature ovarian insufficiency or premature ovarian failure. You find ladies at the age of advanced 20, early 30s, without eggs, but yeah, some maybe because of exposure to some hazardous environment, call it X-ray, chemicals, and all of that, or some maybe autoimmune disease conditions. Some may just be some form of genetic programming. Of course, some maybe accidents. So just so for women who are normal and are getting to 30 and no prospect of getting married, I think they should consider freezing their eggs. The reason is this: it's a bit tougher accepting egg donations among a huge subset of the population. And then if you don't have it frozen before, then you're going to have to be given the option of egg donation when you're advanced in age and you don't have eggs. So I think, if for any reason a woman is getting to 30 and above and she is not in any meaningful relationship and she thinks of getting pregnant or having kids in the future, then she should think of freezing her eggs. I'm using the cutoff 30 because when you get to 35, for instance, the eggs begin to. It's not as if they can be frozen at that point, but for the normal ladies, 35 is like the watershed age, and you experience marked deterioration in quality and count of sperms, and then of eggs, and eggs gotten at that point in time may be frozen, but you may be freezing bad eggs at the same time. In which case, you're not achieving so much.
So it means the prospect of even achieving pregnancy much later with those
Exactly.
eggs.
I know in the society today, in some culture or religion, some people are permitted to marry multiple men. I mean, you may end up one marital relationship, then you get into another marital relationship, and for reasons that love psychologists could give, women always want to have kids when they are married, no matter how old they are. So you may not have eggs when you are old. So if you're in that kind of culture, or society where there's high chances that you get married to another man, you will freeze your egg while you're married with the other man.
Because you don't know what the future
of course, you don't know what
holds.
it's going to be like, because you may just be married and you want to have babies again, and
feel
you will
like
be asked to consider the option of egg donation, and then you have thousands of those eggs previously, and all of a sudden some doctor somewhere is saying, hey, egg donation. It's actually a very it's not
Tough.
easy for them to just
To come to
outrightly
terms with.
accept egg donation. So freezing is good. If women are going for cancer treatment too, it's good to freeze. Maybe chemotherapy, radiotherapy, or what kind of therapy, it's good to freeze. And when they are not married, or they are not planning to get married for a lot of reasons, and then the age is already building up, they could consider freezing, cryopreserving the oocytes, the eggs.
Yeah. Wow. So okay, so we've talked a lot about egg freezing and sperm freezing. And then people will wonder why there's a need to freeze their embryo. If so, are there times that even in the course of treatment, when people have accessed fertility care, are there times that you would recommend freezing of embryos for some people?
Yeah, when you're doing an IVF treatment, sometimes some women produce quite a number of eggs. At that point, depending on what the implantation chances would be like, you may want to go with embryo transfer, fresh embryo transfer or not. So
Okay.
if the condition or situations warrants you, I mean, makes you not to want to go with fresh embryo transfer because of the hormone abnormalities in the woman, then you may want to freeze. And then you do the transfers later. So that's one
Okay.
condition. If the chances of implantation is deemed to be very low,
Yes.
you may want to freeze.
Freeze.
Then
Okay.
if she has excess,
Okay.
and then you make an embryo transfer and the others are okay, she may consider freezing. So she could use them a lot later. That's freezing the embryos now, and she can use them so many years later, just like the case we had some few months ago. Embryos that were frozen over 30 years were thawed and transferred and become the oldest frozen embryo
Embryos.
transfer. And the baby is alive, baby is doing well, but frozen for over 30
30
years.
years. Wow. So that answers our question of embryos being frozen for such a long time. That means gametes, whatever it is, can be frozen for such a long time.
Yes. All you need to have is have a good quality control system and have a constant supply of liquid nitrogen. Yes, and freeze good embryos, because if you freeze poor embryos, they may not survive. You freeze good embryos, then you could take it off for a long time.
So now you're saying good. That means it's not all eggs, it's not all sperm, it's not
sure,
all embryos
sure.
that can be frozen.
Yeah, because if the genetic integrity or the embryos, the oocytes and the sperms are not looking too great, they may not all survive freezing.
Okay.
So you have to make good selection to determine which gametes or embryos should be frozen. So they all will not survive. They all may not. When you freeze good embryos and the technique, processes of freezing is good enough and you have good storage conditions, then chances are high that they'll survive.
So for someone watching, yes, it's not like he has let us know. So you don't just go, and when they tell you, you say you want to freeze, and then they're telling you, we don't think it will survive freezing. It's not good enough. It's not strange.
No, it's not strange.
It's not strange.
Yeah,
They have things that they look out for, and that is why even when they give you these counsels, because I think I've heard a few people that say, okay, maybe they've told them they have so number, and you're telling they are saying I want to freeze, and you're saying, well, we don't think this will survive freezing, and they are just wondering why. So it means that also the quality of what you have also will determine whether it can be frozen or not. And that's why you should trust your fertility specialist to give you the right counsel. And now we're enlightening you, but you also have to trust them to do appropriate analysis of everything that you have, and then they tell you what is best for freezing, just to help secure the future. Well, because securing the future with something that does not have prospects, that's as good as not saving for the future. Yes. So some people would wonder how this process is done, because I know there are some people that will just say, okay, I'll just come straight, I want to freeze my egg. They will just wonder, maybe something that you just pick up the egg that day and then just freeze. So I'm sure the men is straightforward for them, but the woman's own is a process. So maybe you should give them an idea of what it would take them if they want to consider freezing, what they might likely go through.
So if a woman is considering egg freezing, it's like she's going to do IVF.
Oh, okay.
So it's just every process of IVF.
No,
it's just that when the eggs are retrieved, they are not fertilized if it's eggs to be frozen.
Okay.
So you do the IVF process to the point of egg retrieval.
Oh, wow.
So after retrieval, you just clean up the eggs, prepare them, and freeze them. So it just goes like having an IVF treatment, because it's a medication for IVF. It's a process of egg collection for IVF that you go through. But then instead of fertilizing, you freeze the eggs. So it can take that length of time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So the same for the embryo freezing, for instance, you have to generate the embryos first. So you fertilize the eggs, then you cryopreserve them. As for the sperm, it's pretty straightforward. The man ejaculates, meeting the required conditions for ejaculation, then he submits it to the andrologist. The sperms are just prepared and frozen.
So now you were saying this, I actually just remembered something I heard, I think sometime last week, and I know there should be some ethical considerations with regards to freezing of gametes, because I know some time ago, the Alabama incidents with frozen embryos and all of that. So I'm sure there are some incidents around. And then sometime last week, I think I met someone that had a frozen embryo from like 4 years ago. So she said back then when they were praying for an embryo transfer, that her husband felt, yes, they had excess, even though they had twins. But she said her husband felt like why would they, if they tell them to discard the embryo, they feel like they are discarding a part of them. So that was their own reason for freezing the embryo back then. It's not like, okay, because they actually had the number, but for she said back then they felt, how would they discard that? They feel like they are discarding a part of them, so they just felt they should just keep it for some time. So a lot of, I know that, so I was going to ask, what are some of the ethical considerations with regards to this frozen embryo thing, and some mindset that people have, some myth that people also have about freezing of gametes, embryos, and all of that. What's your opinions to that?
It will be guided by the regulations controlling the practice in the state or country or cities where this practice is done. So that at the end of the day, you're not doing wrong to the embryos, wrong to the couple in question. So and people have to understand that yes, embryos have potential for life, but from my own perspective, embryos are not all embryos are alive, because a good number of more embryos do not implant than those that implant. So you can't just make a blanket statement that you're discarding a part of you. The sperms are always discarded anyway. You meet with a woman and you ejaculate millions of sperms, and maybe no pregnancy even happens. So what happens? They're all discarded. And a woman starts her menstrual cycle in a month with close to 1,000 eggs, and no pregnancy happens. Who take responsibility for all those wastages? Nature itself is wastage, and then if we're not careful, the decisions that we take or make may also be wasted. But we need to understand the science and biology behind all these gametes or embryos before we talk about ethics. But the goal is no reproductive scientist that is in his right senses and mind will just create or make embryos and just discard them. No. Exactly. In our system, for instance, when embryos are made for you, you decide what you want to do with them. And so we absorb ourselves of responsibilities, So we decide, because we don't discard embryos, we preserve embryos. You decide what you want to do with the embryos, yeah. So some other society, for fear of abusing embryos, abusing reproductive proceedings, doctors are warned not to generate more than 3 eggs. Wow. Yes, no more than 3 eggs. So that whatever it is, you fertilize all and just put them in the uterus. Back. So that way, you're not discarding anything called life. So it's easy. It all depends on what is acceptable and what the regulations are within the society.
Wow. So viewers, that's why, yes, a lot of people have, even though people are still even struggling to come with terms with assisted reproduction technology that are made available, and then people have their notions, people have wrong facts, people say a lot of ill things about IVF which are not even valid and which are not true. And that's why you should be able to have a good understanding of whatever it is you're going through, so you're able to take informed decisions and not take decisions out of naivety and should I say out of wrong informations that you are nursing. Because I know there are some people too that would just want to say, okay, why will I keep the embryos? Well, some of them might be lack of funds though, but why some of them might just be like, when next I want to do, I just feel like, why will I keep the baby's life on hold? Some of them will say, you are keeping the baby on hold. That's
and then, just the way they process it.
Exactly. Yes. So it's good that we have ask your questions so you can have good clarity, and then you'll be able to process things in the best way as it relates to your society or the environment where you find yourself. Well, a lot about cryopreservation, a lot of about gametes freezing and embryo freezing, and we cannot just exhaust this. But I would just ask, what would be your final counsel to people with regards to fertility preservation as a whole, because yes, this is more like saving for the future, whether or not you feel you need it now or later. What's your counsel to them with
Yeah,
regards
yeah.
to that?
For my counsel would be, if you meet the criteria for garment preservation or embryo preservation, just take advantage and do it, because you may be happy you did it later. Okay, so we shouldn't shy away from possibilities, and we shouldn't be afraid of taking steps. It may be a little costly, but not having oocytes later is costlier than
Yeah.
freezing it now. Looking at the emotional distress, societal alignment, all of those things that you go through. If you monetize them, it will be costlier than
Then
having to have frozen your
slow.
embryos some years before. So I think just take advantage of the availability, I mean, the possibility of science, and just achieve your dreams and achieve your
Yeah.
goals, Yeah, for me, I really would advise that ladies especially should freeze their eggs when they are very young,
Young.
because that's when those eggs are in a very good form.
Form.
And then the chances of achieving results with them, it's a little higher,
Higher.
So young ladies should do that. Even if it is one cycle or two cycle of stimulation and freezing of eggs, you should do.
Wow. So there's a lot. Viewers, we've gotten a lot from Dr. Ken this afternoon. And if you've not gained anything, I'm sure one thing you've learned is you don't want to gamble with the future. It's more expensive back later on than if you actually go through it now. Yes, somebody might be saying the whole process of this freezing might seem not cheap. But yes, it's not cheap anywhere. But one thing we know is if you actually set your mind to do something, you could actually prepare yourself for it, and you could do it while you hope for the best outcome out of it. And I'm sure back later, when you look at what you've gained from what you're doing now, you realize that you actually saved yourself a lot by doing what you're doing. So please save those garments and embryo right now and thank us later. It's good having you, viewers. Stay with us today. I know you had a good time, and it was good having you, Dr. Ken.
My pleasure.
Yeah. Thank you once again. And we look forward to seeing more of you guys in our next episode. Have a lovely evening. Bye.
Thank you.